The 10 Plagues. God sent Moses and Aaron to Egypt to talk to Pharaoh, the ruler of the land. They said, "God says, let my people go." But Pharaoh didn't want to let his slaves go. So Pharaoh said, "No." Well, God sent 10 plagues upon Egypt to convince Pharaoh to let the people go. And each time Pharaoh said no, God punished the land. The first plague was that God turned the river Nile into blood. For several days, the people could not drink the water. Moses and Aaron went back to Pharaoh, but still, Pharaoh said no. The next plague was frogs. Frogs everywhere. Frogs in the houses, frogs in the kitchen, frogs in the bed. There were frogs all over the land. And Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron. He said, all right, make the frogs go away. Moses said, okay, when do you want me to make them go away? Pharaoh said, tomorrow. But would Pharaoh let the people go? Moses and Aaron said, can we go now? Pharaoh said, no. God sent lice. And Pharaoh refused to let the people go, so God sent flies. After the flies, Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron and said, all right, entreat the Lord for me that he makes the flies go away. But after the flies went away, when Moses and Aaron asked Pharaoh to let the people go, Pharaoh said, no. If you don't let the people go, then there's going to be a bad disease on the cattle, they warned. And sure enough, there was a terrible disease on the cattle. Many of them died. Well, hello, Joy and Jerry. That's a good question. Why? Why wouldn't Pharaoh let the people go? After God had sent all these diseases, Pharaoh just kept hardening his heart. He wouldn't let the people go. He refused to admit that the Lord was right and more powerful than he was as Pharaoh. But Joy and Jerry, I'm sorry to say that as human beings, we are very prideful most of the time. We don't like to admit when we're wrong. Boys and girls, do you like to admit when you're wrong? When your mom or your dad put you in timeout because you've done something wrong? Do you act like it's not a big deal? Or do you accept the punishment and learn from it? Well, Pharaoh did not learn from all these punishments. Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh and said, God says, let my people go. Pharaoh said, no. So Moses took a handful of dust and threw it up in the air, and it became a boil breaking forth upon man and beast. Horrible sores upon people. Still, Pharaoh would not let the people go. God is going to send terrible hailstorm with lightning. If you know it's smart, pull your servants and your cattle inside. Sure enough, a storm that Egypt had never seen. Giant hailstones and lightning. It was a very bad storm. And some servants that had been left out in the field. Well, sorry for them. Pharaoh quickly called Moses and Aaron. Entreat the Lord to make it stop. I don't like it. So, Moses asked God, and God stopped it. But would Pharaoh let the people go after that? He still said no. Well, then God's going to send a plague of locusts, Moses warned. And sure enough, locusts spread all over the land and eating everything. Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron back. Okay. Please, make the locusts go away. So, God took the locusts away. But would Pharaoh let the people go? He still said no. Pharaoh wasn't listening to God, and he wasn't learning from these punishments and these warnings that were happening. God spread darkness over the land. It was a thick darkness that could be felt. For 3 days, people could not go outside. But there was light in all the houses of the Israelites. Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron. "I'll let you go, but only with a few conditions. You must leave your flocks and herds here." "No," said Moses. "You must let us go, and we must take all of our stuff and all of our little ones." "No," said Pharaoh. Well, God sent one last plague upon Egypt. That's what we call the Passover. Moses and the Israelites sacrificed a lamb. They killed a lamb and roasted it and ate it, and took the blood and put it over the doors of their houses. And at midnight, the death angel came over the land of Israel and killed all of the firstborn. Only those that had blood over their door were safe. After that, Moses and Aaron got a message from Pharaoh. "Take your people and go." Finally, Pharaoh let them go. But unfortunately, his country had been destroyed. It would take centuries for Egypt to return to a place of prominence. And with that, Moses and the Israelites left Egypt. The end.